Really, why aren't all the pictures coming up?
Thank you.
Really, why aren't all the pictures coming up?
What's that?
Okay, so YouTube is running
That's weird that you could hear Nick.
and I am going to, this is everybody at the live meeting. Can everybody see that?
We can.
Okay.
Nice job. I know, I saw that.
You have your girl up back, right?
I do have my grill out back. Yes, we can do this. Now, is this self-interest if I vote strongly for this because I need a place to have my cows watered?
Problem child of all agriculture.
It is the largest.
Can't hear you.
So JBS.
Lester, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I
Yes.
can hear you now.
Mike Well, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can. Okay,
The smaller plants.
we're all set for
around
now.
here, they
Okay,
don't-
go ahead,
they're
Ally.
Tight because there's not many.
All right.
Dan Bruno.
Dan Bruno, you got to unmute.
Okay,
You here?
I can hear.
I'm here.
And Dave O'Brien.
Here. You have a quorum?
We have 6.
Okay, that's a quorum. So first item of business is the transfer of the dewatering facility from FLDBC to the IDA. FELDBC is applying for dissolution. They have to dispose of the property and they're asking us to take the property. So we need a resolution to go to dissolution to accept that. So I motion by Craig, do I have a second?
Second,
Second by Dan Bruno. And I'll ask for a roll call vote on that, please.
Craig Leggett,
Yes.
Michael Biddle,
Yes, ma'am.
Mike Wild,
Yes.
Dan Bruno.
I don't think you could hear.
Dan
Dan,
Bruno?
do you approve the resolution?
yes, I couldn't hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Dave O'Brien.
Yes. That was six affirmative votes, correct?
Correct.
All right, motion carries. Get that resolution so we can start the dissolution process. So any other business at the meeting? No, so I will adjourn the special meeting and open up the IDA executive part meeting. So first item agenda is,
Should we take the roll, sir?
Ally, take the roll first.
Craig Leggett.
Here.
Michael.
Yes, ma'am.
Brian Campbell, Dave Papa. No.
No.
Okay, Mike Wild.
Yes, I'm here.
Dan?
Dan, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Nick Caimano.
Yes.
Dave O'Brien.
Yes. Okay, first order of business on the executive part meeting, I'm gonna move around a little bit. We have Cody Kilcoyne here, who is applying for benefits. He's applying for, if I remember correctly, pilot, paid in lieu of taxes, sales tax abatement, and for mortgage tax abatement. Another thing came up last night in a discussion with Joe Scott was potentially this project is eligible for tax exempt bonds. So we're gonna have that conversation with Kara and probably Joe Scott, talk it through to see if it makes sense for them to do that in terms of that. So having said that, I'd like to turn it over to Cody and have Cody sort of give us an overview of the project, what they're looking to do. I know he dumped a whole bunch of stuff on us last night, which I forwarded to people. Include all his financials, his business plan, and it's going to take more than 5 minutes to go through that. So if you could give us an overview, please.
Yep. So we intend to purchase the land from the IDA in the Warren Washington Airport Industrial Park to build from the ground up a USDA processing facility to handle 200 head of cattle a week and 100 hogs a week, which is a pretty sizable facility for the area. This we'll be utilizing this for our own products as well as opening it up for the community to be able to bring their animals in to process at our facility. It's doubling as an educational facility as well. We're partnering with SUNY Adirondack and SUNY Cobleskill to create more skilled labor jobs, being whole animal butchers. It's pretty hard to find any of them nowadays. So we're doing that, and then we have a commercial kitchen in there. We'll be doing dry aging, curing, all kinds of stuff. The pretty smoking, curing. The commercial kitchen will cover everything. So we're trying to make it a zero waste facility. So we'll be utilizing all the bones for bone broth, all the marrow for all the marrow butter and all that kind of stuff. Trying to utilize the hides. Trying to make it as little waste as possible, as well as being educational, and then the USDA can train them as well. We're building it to be very tourable as well. So we're putting in a catwalk with windows to be able to view, if people want to see the transparency, to view from the kill floor to the processing floor to the commercial kitchen, all the way down to from A to B, or A to Z basically. So we're trying to make it as open and educational as possible, as well as helping the local community, because agriculture is tough on processors. So that's a quick overview. I don't know if you guys want me to go into a ton of detail or not.
Size of facility,
About 25 to 30,000 square feet.
holding pens?
Yes, interior, not exterior.
So all your holding pens will be inside?
Yes, so basically the way it'll work is as you come in, the office will be on one end. I'm trying to keep all the killing and the holding on the opposite end. So if people do want to tour the facility and they don't want to see that, if they're not comfortable with that, they don't see it first. They're basically going backwards. But we'll start with the office, and then we'll have our coolers and our loading dock on that side for product leaving. And then we'll have the dry aging rooms, the curing rooms, the smokers, commercial kitchen, the processing floor, and then it'll go to the kill, or the hanging coolers, then the kill floor, and then the the holding fence will be on that side. So we're planning on having, about 5 to 10 holding fence that would hold about 20 per. And you'd be processing beef on certain days and pork on other days, so it wouldn't be mixing any of the two.
Offal? What do you do with the guts?
So you can use some of them, you can utilize some of them. We keep the liver, the kidney, the heart, the tongue, all that kind of stuff now. There are some that wouldn't be able to be used. Our plan is to build a loading dock right off of where the kill floor is and have a refrigerated 30-degree room where our guts and all the stuff that we can't use stay in bins in there. And then we'll have they're called rendering companies. And they take your guts and all the unusables and they turn it into dog food. So they'll come once a day or once every other day and they'll pick up all the guts and stuff and then they'll take it away. That was one thing that we were not getting into because it does smell really bad if you have a rendering company. On any Utica, so that would probably be the closest. So they would send us a truck once a day or once every other day. And with it being cooled, that's one thing I noticed with most processing facilities is they do not have a cooled room to hold their guts. So it ends up smelling bad, and that's what most people complain about, the smell being from that. But if you keep it at 30 degrees, you're not gonna get a smell at all. And then the truck comes and takes it, and that's the end of that.
So I think one of the biggest comments was they were afraid of the smell coming out of the facility, so.
There won't
we're
be any
talking
smell
about
at all.
that,
Maybe a minor smell, somewhat like a farm because we'll have live animals at one point. But our farm is only 15 minutes away, so we would clean out, take the manure, and bring it back to our farms.
Mhm.
So that wouldn't be sitting around either.
So, how, during the day, how often do you plan on running it? What are your times to run it?
So the USDA is very strict. You're only allowed to be running from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Okay.
Monday to Friday. So you can't do any work on weekends. Any major holiday, you're shut down. So they take any bank holiday off. And if you want them to work, you have to pay them like $20 an hour.
Sure,
Which
sure.
is crazy, but
Because it's an on-site inspector there.
yes, yep, at all times. So we're not allowed to process any animals if the inspector's not there. And if that does happen, you can process on a Saturday. It'll come with an exempt sticker, and it'll have a not for sale on it. Say you wanted to just process your own animal for your own freezer, it would have a not for sale sticker on it, which we could do, but we don't intend on. We just intend on running everything through the time frame.
So then you have to switch over, well, 2 things. The minimum amount of beef and pork going through to have a USDA inspector on site?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, they have them at like facilities that do 20 a week,
sure,
so.
sure. Secondly, is you'll have time to clean out,
Yep.
because you're 7 to 3, you're gonna have time to totally blow out everything.
Yep.
To switch from cattle to bovine, or to pig, to
Yep.
swine, yeah.
So normally the way it works is they'll kill cattle on one day.
Yeah.
They'll do all the processing for that. The processing floor is a little different. Whereas you can do a mixture as long as you're cleaning and disinfecting in between. But we planned on having it broke down, like you said, cattle maybe Monday through Wednesday and then hogs Thursday and Friday.
Great.
That kind of schedule. Not sure exact schedule yet, but
Sure.
yeah, everything, even after the day's done at 3 o'clock, we'll have a cleaning crew come in, break down all the equipment, disinfect, clean everything every day. And same thing with the holding fence. As long as there's no animals in there, we'll clean it out every night, bring the manure back to our farm and spread it, or compost it.
Sure.
A lot of cleaning.
Yeah.
The USDA likes it very, very, very clean.
Oh,
Lot of
absolutely.
water
That's
usage.
the nice part about having interior holding pens is we've seen some animals get out at other facilities and then it's a nightmare trying to catch an animal that's scared. And you basically have to just end up shooting it and then you can't use that animal. So So with interior pens, we're backing our trailers all the way in, so there's no way they can escape, and it reduces all the flies. We'll have sprayers in there to wash them down essentially, keep all the fly and larvae from growing in there. So.
SPCA, best management practices for the kill and.
Yep,
handling for-
we've got a USDA designer working with us with our architect, and she's planning on making it a humanely slaughtered, humanely handled. We've handled cattle for years now, and we've seen the pitfalls of all of the other processors loading setups, so we know how they want to move, what makes them most comfortable, and what makes it safest for our employees, because a lot of these facilities are not safe whatsoever, especially for us trying to train people there.
There was a processing plant up in Ticonderoga that didn't
Yep.
make it. Why would this one?
We used them at one point. We know why they didn't make it.
And you learn from that.
Yeah, well, prime example of their squeeze chutes to unload animals. The first animals that we unloaded, you're bringing in, our animals weigh 1,600 pounds a lot. Those are big steers. We unloaded them, they put them in their squeeze chute to put them into the holding pens, and the chutes were too wide. They didn't measure properly, so the animals could turn around, and they turned around and they threw a board in between themselves to stop the animal from coming forward, but they didn't throw it in front of the posts, so the animal just blasted the kids back. And everything about that facility, as soon as we walked in, was not set up properly. Also, Ticonderoga is kind of in between that North Country area and then here, kind of a stretch for either way you go. Distance-wise, there's not a ton of farms up there. There's more agricultural community here than there is up in Ticonderoga, as far as beef and dairy. Because most people don't realize large dairy farms have to cull probably 15 to 20 animals a week. Like Ideal Dairy, they have to sell for meat 15 to 20 cows a week, and they replace them with new ones because their production is going down or whatever the case is. And then here you have Ideal Dairy, King Dairy, you've got Walkers, there's another one up here, I believe, and those all have over 1,000 animals on their farms. Yep. So
Chambers.
and those were just dairy. That was not including all the beef, small beef operators around here.
But
So
the skinny cows are not what you're looking for. You're looking for the fatty cows.
yeah, yep. Yeah. So there's
So
difference
you would-
between
you
fat
would-
animals and
Yeah,
then what we call mixers, which would be like burger animals. The dairy animals are fine to use. You don't really want to take their cuts, but you can drop them into ground beef and mix them with the fat from other animals, and it works out pretty well. But Ticonderoga had a bit of management problems. I personally, I think that was one of their downfalls. And then just the way they set the facility up was a nightmare.
well, it's surprising to me that no one else has tried to pick that place up because
I thought it got sold, didn't it?
It's
It
storage
did.
now.
storage.
Yeah, it got sold to someone else, but it was, we looked at it originally, we looked at that facility to purchase it. But from our farm to there is almost an hour. We didn't feel comfortable being that far away from an industry that needs heavy oversight. So we didn't feel it was a good opportunity for us.
Your market area drawing in, where's the cattle? How big of a radius from here?
They'll come from everywhere.
Yeah,
We
it's
right now
like
drive
4 miles, right?
we drive 3 hours to go to our processor one way.
Uh-huh.
So that's out in Krogan, out by Watertown. So that's where our USDA processor is. The thing, it seems like there's a lot of processors in the area, which there's a decent amount. But what all of them have not had experience in and that we have is dealing with restaurants. So none of them have, we've basically gone backwards with the start to finish process. So we've gone and sold our meat to restaurants, and we've seen and educated ourselves on what chefs and butchers want. So we know more easily how to process so that their consumers are happy. So even like our processor, when we first started with him, people will buy half animals from us and we'll have them custom cut to however they want it cut up. And he was packaging, briskets that were 10 pounds, just throwing it all in one bag. Most people can't handle 10 pounds of brisket at a time. You cut that in half, person's a lot happier because they can pull out 5 pounds and utilize it. Same thing with the burgers. He had them in sleeves of 6 to 10. Those work a lot better for one person having lunch than having to break off 6 burgers and cook them all. So it's just little knowledge that we have an upper hand on most of the processors in the area. And I think given our brand reputation with restaurants and private individuals, I think most people understand that. But I would say a good radius, you're going to be looking at people, there'll be people in Massachusetts that'll come out this way to process. So I've already had people call me asking when they can book dates. I said, well, maybe when the first ground is broke, but not yet.
What do you have to do to break ground? What's going to be involved with site work and construction
As far as what?
before building the facility?
What okays do you need from the town, the state, the feds?
Okay. We are working with Munter Enterprise.
Yes.
And they actually built, I think, EcoStock, which is the property next door. So they're very familiar with all of the regulations that go into building specifically on that site. I'm not exactly sure. The USDA doesn't really have anything to say, like you can build it however you want. I could go out there with a shovel myself and build it, and the USDA after the fact will come in and say, this is wrong, but that's why we have a USDA person working with us. So we've kind of covered all of our bases with preparation side. We've got a USDA designer. We have an architect that works with Munter, and then Munter Enterprise, who's already previously built in this site.
And then all the civil work of getting water, electricity, roads, level building area and such like that. What's the plans on, how much is involved in that?
So we were gonna put our facility a little bit closer on, I don't know if you guys have the maps, but a little bit closer on like lot 16. So that wasn't a huge run to get the stuff out, but I'm not super familiar with that, but Munter said it's not a problem at all, so
Okay.
he's done it before there, so I'm not exactly sure.
This is lot he's talking about, 16.
Okay, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were gonna just extend, so the lines already run right to here. There's a water line and the sewer line all run right there. So we just have to take it maybe a couple 100 yards, not even, probably 150 yards, somewhere in there, over to this side. And then, however he's gonna set up the plot.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm very comfortable with Mr. Munter and a lot of faith in him that he knows what he's doing and would know the backgrounds that need to be done and the foresight to not get caught short. Neither regulations nor monies. Mr. Munter is one of the best on this stuff.
He works a lot with, he builds a lot of stewards facilities, so he's got his ducks in a row.
In full disclosure, I did go to high school with him, but that usually is a bad thing. So he is premier. Yeah.
We met with 3 separate construction teams, and we felt most comfortable with him, and we felt like he was the one that had the most knowledge, especially building in this area. He's built quite a bit. We had met with Bonaccio before, which they were also very organized and very official, which we would have been fine with either one, but just on a personal basis, we got along with Mike much better, and he was much more agriculturally mindset than Bonaccio was.
A few less F words on Mr. Munter compared to Mr. Bonaccio, who I also went to high school with.
Yeah.
And those were words like fun, fantastic. Yeah, just to be clear on the F words.
Fun.
Yeah, Mike's a pretty quiet guy.
He's a gentleman.
So he provided some pretty detailed information. We have a chance to go through it in terms of that. So you are working on the financing.
Yep.
I think the twist is we have to evaluate how potentially low tax exempt bonds fit into the process if they do.
Okay.
Right, how might they?
How might they?
Yeah.
Well, according to Joe Scott, there is an excerpt that processing animals, complete processing from start to finish, not just cutting, hanging, and sending out the door, but complete cutting, like they're cutting them up for sale to retail stores, to individuals, to whoever they sell to. They're cutting the meat themselves, so that's called manufacturing processing,
Oh,
which makes it eligible for, Carrie probably understands the legal terms better than I can, and she can correct me, but that qualifies them for low tax exempt credits. Why do I have low income? Tax exempt
real
credits.
low income
Tax
housing.
exempt bonds. Is that accurate, what I said, Carrie?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and I think that Joe's suggestion is that we have a conversation so he would talk to the tax guys in his office, so that we could all have a conversation to ask you some specifics about your project so that they can make sure it fits into the internal revenue code for this provision that is available. So
Yeah, this,
it's like fact dependent. So.
okay. This would be a facility with, we had a contract with Hannaford all lined up for grocery store ground beef sales. But the processor that we went through, he kind of dropped the ball on a lot of official stuff with the USDA. So we got a label approved, everything was fine. I went through the approval myself and did it. And then something happened with his USDA guy, so that contract kind of fell through. And we told Hannaford just to wait until our facility's up and running. So this is going to be a facility where if they're looking for people to be able to produce products that are store shelf ready, we can do that. We're having roll stock machines, we're having barcoding systems. You'll be able to track, even like on your guys' end, you'll be able to track if you bring in your animal, we'll have live weight scales as they enter. And then you can basically follow the animal all the way through the process. So we'll give you a yield, what your animal yielded with the barcoding system. It lets you do all this. And then it'll give you a printout of every cut that came off of that animal and the weight on that cut. You'll get that upon
And
picking
everything
it up.
from prime and so on, how much is?
Well, so the grading system is based on the USDA. So they have to send us another inspector, which we are trying to get a grading inspector there. So there's no facilities in New York State, I don't think, that grade right now, as far as I know.
I think you're right.
There's none, there might not even be any close in the Northeast unless it's a JBS or a Cargill, who are much larger. Grading is a very, very difficult thing to get. It's one thing that if we do get it, you're going to get people from 500 miles away bringing their animals here, because it's such a hard thing to find. So we have told our USDA designer that we intend on being a grading facility, and she's looking into getting that going.
Because you could pay a differential between choice
Well,
and prime and things.
yes,
like that.
so you can charge whatever the prime rate is for that animal being prime. So there's more that goes into it. They don't just look at the carcass and go, they don't look at the marbling and go, that's a nice marbled animal, this is prime. Have dimensions that they take from the eye of the ribeye versus the dimensions from the back fat. And then they do some kind of calculation to grade whatever that grade is. Because sometimes you see prime animals that don't look super well marbled, but the dimensions of the size of the eye versus the back fat versus the marbling inside is where they determine the grade. To me, I think it's a little bit of hoopla, but we do intend on having it being a grading facility as well. So like I said, it's
Okay.
being able to grade it prime, if it is prime, is a huge market for this area.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry for all the questions.
No, that's what he's here for.
So,
I mean,
Not a lot of people know about this stuff, so.
You know, this is a big project. It's something different than we've done in a long, I don't think we've ever done a slaughterhouse. But the reason why he's here today is just to give preliminary information, to see if this is a project we want to forward to the full board.
so timeline?
I mean, it's all dependent on the financing, whenever that gets finalized. Munter had mentioned, 8-9 months of building time to
Sure.
get this done. So as soon as we get the financing, we would like to start everything rolling. That's why we kind of did it backwards of trying to find all of our contracts and getting them all lined up before we went to the banks. Because once they give us the money, then obviously the purchase of the land will happen and everything will just start rolling from there. The architects and the USDA designer are currently doing the blueprints now, so that when we do get ready to go, they just start working.
So how's the financing structured?
How's it structured?
Yeah.
As far as what they would give us from the banks?
Well, you've got a total cost of about $8 million.
Yep.
Okay, is that, how much is bank, how much private investment?
We have a meeting with our private investors next week sometime. We would like to do about 20% private investment and then the rest be bank financed. But you never know. It's dependent on what they want and what the bank wants. I personally, I don't see the hesitation on this end of it just because I'm in agriculture, you're in agriculture, the availability of processors. So I always explain it as soon as we open, we'll have as much work as we want, as much work as we can handle, basically. The banks don't see it that way, so we might. That's why we're talking to the private investors, shooting for probably 20%, I would say, and then grants. I'm working with Laura to try to dig up some grants and that kind of stuff too. So.
Okay.
We're a little bit new to this, so I apologize if I don't have all the answers.
That's all right. That's all right.
We've been little farmers for a while, so.
You've done a lot of research, a lot of background work, and I haven't had a chance to look at your pro forma, but I will at a certain point.
Right, and we're here to help answer any questions and find out anything on that end as well.
Okay, appreciate it.
So, anyone else have any other questions for Cody? All right, thanks, Cody.
No problem.
To be continued.
All right, appreciate it.
And I know Kara's got to go through the application, make sure we have all we need there, but sounds like we have some time, so we'll react to what the time schedule is.
All right.
Thank you
Okay.
for this.
No problem. You guys enjoy.
Very much.
You fire up the grill? You got the grill fired up?
I'll get the grill fired up.
Might need to be a little hot for the frozen ones.
Yeah.
If you toss them in some water, they'll pop.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
do you guys want me to get out of your hair, or do you need me to stay?
No, we're all set at this point.
I don't want to interrupt the rest of your meeting if you got more going on or not.
That's
but-
fine.
Yeah, I think we're good. Thank you.
All right, I appreciate it.
Coming.
Thanks,
No
Cody.
problem.
Good to have
We'll be
you.
talking to you.
Guys have any questions? Let me know.
Yeah, we got your contact information all right here.
I never call you Cody, so.
Never stopped by the farm the other day, grab meat.
No,
Yeah, and,
if anyone gets a chance, you ought to try his steaks.
Well, I've had his burgers because at Glens Falls Country Club, we've
Yeah.
got his burgers.
Makes good ribeyes.
They get some ribeyes too there every once in a while.
Yeah, they do.
Yep.
Yeah,
They try to
they're
dry
like
age.
this big.
Yeah, they're huge.
Oh. Word.
Do the cap on ones.
Okay.
All right, thank you
Thanks,
guys.
Cody.
Appreciate it.
Potential project updates. Nolan Propane's going to the planning board. They've been to the planning board, so they're there that way. Other than that, you just heard from the other one we got in date, up to date.
They're at the planning board now.
who is?
No, they're going back on the 16th.
Oh, okay.
I gotta
missed
go. They got
Who that is. I apologize, Chairman. Who's this?
Nolan Propane.
Okay.
Okay.
They went to the planning board once. They asked for further information, so they're going back on the 16th. One of the questions that I heard was, Ally was there, was they had questions on delineation. One person said that the lot 3 was wetlands. We have delineation maps from 1996 and from 2020 in October and updated in February that show no wetlands on that property whatsoever.
Good.
Secondly, there was concerns about dust in the printing press next door.
Is that what's next door?
Yeah, Kingsbury Printing. So there's concerns about that, so they're working on how to mitigate that potentially. They think they probably get more dust from the roads and Equistock than anything else, but, you know, we'll address, they are looking to address those issues. They're having another site plan review by another engineer. They like to have, even though they got the best of the business doing the propane, they wanted a second view from someone, so they're looking for someone. They have someone out of Ticonderoga doing it to review it. So on the 16th, they're going back and answer any questions. I don't, did I miss anything, Ally?
No.
Okay. Delineation update. We sent the plans to them. They sent the proposed deed restrictions. We've also sent the request for a JD to them. And we just got, I think we got 5 of the 7 permission slips for the lots to go on. So the Army Corps of Engineers go and verify that no land's been disturbed, that shouldn't have been disturbed from 1996.
So 5 of the 7 landowners have replied.
Yes,
That's pretty good.
there's 2 that haven't.
Wow.
And they've all replied in the affirmative?
I had a couple people call me for questions, but they were easy questions, so.
Good.
The form stinks because the box check was review to any building. Well, no one's doing any building, but that's the only one we could answer. So, see from there. So hopefully we're moving along on that. Army Corps will be up here to look at it and make sure we didn't violate any of the terms of the wetland agreements. We got the deed restrictions done. We still don't figure out how we're going to require people to sign deed restrictions 20 years later in some cases. So we'll deal with that. As soon as Mr. Connell's had a chance to review things, he's asked Jared Engineering for an update on one of the maps. So Jared Engineering is working on that. Any questions on any of those items? TDI update. We had a conversation with them last Friday. We're still reviewing the term sheet they sent back to us with what they want. I will be getting that out as soon as I get some questions from Joe and Kara so that I understand where we're going. So as soon as I have information to explain it fully to people, I will. I'm not trying to withhold anything. I just want to make sure I understand it so we can communicate it better to people.
Do you think there's going to be a uniform up and down the valley agreement with TDI?
Pretty much that's what the goals are.
Yeah.
They did give us a special proposal for, we're the only county that has 20 miles of road. So they gave us a special agreement working on. They're proposing paying us a stipend upfront for economic development to the IDA in 2 payments. But that's still under discussion, and how we manage that's going to be under discussion. And there are things that Joe and I, Kara, talked about last night. We have to take into consideration. It may change how we structure the agreement, but that's still, we're waiting for final answers on that. I hope to get those by early next week, so we can have another team meeting and work from there and get the information out correctly. Okay. UTAP, I'm going through the policy. I think Craig, I, and Mike and Kara are supposed to, who's on that committee? You, me, Craig.
Well, let's have Ally look back in the notes.
Look back on the notes. Maybe she's got it. We're going to look at it. I sent it out to review. I've got the items I want to do. I just want to take a look at them. I think it's going to be breaking down to is what's realistic, what's our dream changes to it. I'm not sure we want to go through a complete rewrite of the UTAP. But I do think there's things that need to be modified, as I've discussed before, for clarification.
Mike, I think you're on it too.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think I wasn't here for a meeting and you put me on it. Yep. Which is normal.
You said anything you can do to help, you'll do.
I didn't mean it.
Sounded good.
Old business is we are interviewing 4 people. I wanted to interview 5. There are 12 people we're interviewing 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock on Thursday, 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock on Friday. One person I called, I gave him the open time. She says, I'll get back if you haven't heard from him since. That was Mr. Hayden. Mr. Hayden. So I haven't heard back from him. He was so amazed that my phone said Amsterdam that he was confused about why I was calling him.
If you're gonna be here for 8 o'clock, let me know to make sure somebody's here to unlock the door.
Oh, I got it.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
Sorry.
We covered it.
Forgot late.
No, thank you for saying that. So
I
I'll
was
be
just
there.
thinking, I'm like,
Absolutely.
We got some good candidates. We'll figure out
Forgot
if they fit in or not fit in. We'll see from there.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
well, just to finish up, if we could go back for one moment to Kilcoyne.
Mhm.
What's our to-dos there? Is there any more to-dos at this meeting? I heard you say, are we
Well-
considering putting it to the full board? But I didn't hear any action and such.
We haven't had any action. I think that I would like to bring the full board, but we want to wait until they get further down in the financing and figure out the tax exempt bond. Why have I got low income? Tax exempt bonds,
Yes,
see where that fits in, because that may change their financing structure.
that sounds fair. I just, for my own sake and maybe others, I just wanted clarity.
Okay.
So we have no to-dos right now as we continue to flush out.
No,
Okay, thank you.
so we'll let you know what's going on with them. As we all know, banks are very slow today.
Dave,
Okay, Kilcoyne. Yes, Nick.
I didn't hear an answer from you. I don't know if you got my last message about Gross Electric. I did finally talk to that CFO. He said Joe was out of town and he would call me at the end of this week and let me know if there's any interest.
Okay, good.
All right.
Thanks, Nick.
All right.
Kilcoyne. What I'd like to do is appoint Bruce Ferguson, the CEO. We also have someone who is interested in joining the board from Washington County and will be a much more active member. So it's Mary King from Granville. She was actually did Allie's job about 4 decades ago, back with Ray Waterhouse. So, I mean, she was really excited about it. She more or less volunteered. So I thought it'd be good to have another active member from Washington County. So I'd like to appoint Bruce as CEO. He's got a long tenure with the agency and he's made a lot of contributions. So I'll make that appointment effective today. Thank you.
So what's Bruce's status?
He's now the CEO.
Is he a city member?
He will not be on the board. He will be the CEO.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so we'll have a full complement of people voting.
We will need an email or something from Bruce though on his resignation. We'll need some,
I'll get a hold of him.
you know what I mean, some
And then,
I'll
affirmation.
get a hold of him.
and Washington County Board of Supervisors will put forth an appointment.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Okay. Financial disclosures. Warren County they're redoing their ethics policy. They're limiting who fills out financial disclosures for Warren County to employees or elected officials. So we're going to have our own form and have people fill them out who are not members of supervisors. And supervisors could just make a copy of their Warren County or Washington County and provide it to us so we have it on file. But they are redoing their ethics policy and they don't want to have so many people involved in that. So we'll have to vet ourselves. That is an ABO requirement that we have financial disclosure forms, and it's also in our ethics policy. So
How often do those have to be updated by sitting board members? Do you know? I don't.
think
You're-
it's an annual disclosure, but.
Annual disclosure?
I think it is too. We haven't done that this year.
No, no.
At the county level, it's annual.
Yeah. And I'd like to work with whoever when we do our own form, because the gracious forms in Warren and Washington County, I don't think are as clear for non-electeds and non-employees.
Correct. Correct. So work on that. Anything else come before the IDA Executive Park?
Water district out in the industrial park. Months ago, there was talk about something, and was it consolidation of the water districts, or was there work going on in the water districts?
There are a couple things need to be done. Slip lining of the pipes in phase 1 and also coming down Queensbury Avenue. It actually affects both sides of the road. So that slip lining is being worked on. They are trying to consolidate and eliminate what's called the Washington County Sewer District and incorporate it into one big district. They had some issues with how it was set up. They can't collect, I can't remember the name of it. They can't collect monies for repair, for maintenance of the line, so they need to fix that. This is part of fixing it, so they can charge fees. Right now, some of the people in the sewer are getting huge additional taxes, sewer charges, because the amount of water that's going through there. So even if they paid the damn, I can't remember the name of it. And even if they pay the yearly additional fees,
God bless you.
it'd be a lot less than some are paying right now for their sewer. So it's a sewer issue.
Okay.
And there's too much infiltration going on in that pipe going down to the Queensbury wastewater station. So that's the issue. Not so much the water.
Okay.
Okay. I did forget, we need approval of May 5th, 2021 minutes for the IDA Executive Park meeting. Can I have that motion? Motion by Mike, second by Craig. Any omissions, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Other than that, approval of the IDC exec. Okay, adjourn the IDA Executive Park meeting. I need to open up the CDC Executive Governance Committee. I don't think anyone's left.
Physically, no.
Thank you, Mike. So I need approval of May 5th, 2021 minutes for the CDC Executive Park. Motion by Craig. Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
I'll do it.
Biddle, second.
Gun to the head.
Any omissions, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Reimbursement of services to the IDA. We started talking about that because of the bond money coming in for Highland Meadows. So we're about to get a large payment for them. The question is, do we want to leave that money in the IDA, in the CDC, or do we want to find a way to transfer it to the IDA for utilization and expenses? Remember, we do all the work for the CDC and we don't charge them anything for the services we provide. I guess I'll open up for discussion.
How much is it?
125?
Should we keep some money in the CDC?
Absolutely, because they still have their annual audit fees.
So 25 grand we leave?
I think 25.
Question mark?
Yeah, this was a discussion a number of years ago, and transferring between the IDA and CDC, there was.
In the past, we've done it as a grant agreement from the CDC to the IDA to use for its mission and corporate purposes, etc. There was one issue with the ABO where it was approved at a meeting, but the agreement was never executed. So when the ABO came through, they really happened that document. That was how you're probably recalling.
So is that still the way we want to do it?
I mean, that's the way we can do it in order to have it moved
Okay. Then we have a process, so we just need to get the money in before we can do that.
And does the CDC have any other financial needs for upfront for any projects?
Not right now, but there could be something coming down the pike.
Okay.
And can we transfer back as easily?
No,
We cannot. So should 25, should the number be upped?
I should say that if this project comes through, there will be funding there to cover any costs.
From the applicant?
From the applicant, yes.
So, because I think Mr. Leggett's question's very appropriate. So is 25 still a good number?
I think 25 is still a good number.
I mean, and I agree with that, but I also, I mean, if the money comes in, you're not required to work this grant agreement immediately, or you don't have to do it all at once, you can do it in increments if you know, however however the board is comfortable doing that. But once it's to the IDA, we're not gonna be able to get it back.
Do we need the money in the IDA right now from a dollars standpoint?
No, not right now.
So we could just do this at any point, right?
Mhm.
And there's no implications at the state level, there's no filings, we don't get hit?
No, there's something we're researching from our conversation with Mr. Scott last night.
Yeah.
Is that the CDC has more latitude with giving grants and loans than the IDA does.
Okay,
So there is possibility that a sum of money that came in can be funneled to the CDC.
okay.
Funneled, can be given to the CDC so they can do grants and loans and other uses of the money.
What's the turnaround time? If we don't do this today, can we do it in 3 months and it gets transferred the next day?
Correct, yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
I would go with that for now, if we don't need the money in the IDA.
Well, I think what I look at is that I have no problem either way. We do all the carrying costs for
Sure.
the CDC. We actually pay, all the work is done by the IDA.
Sure.
So at a certain point, we should find a way to make sure that the IDA is compensated for what they do for the CDC.
What if we did sorry,
Go.
end of the year reconciliation?
That's fine.
That sounds good.
Investment policy covers for CDC, so we can put that into
Right, they have their
interest
own,
bearing.
but it's the mirror image of the.
Yeah, the IDA, yes.
So, we'll see.
Okay.
Okay, that's covers that. I thought it was more work than that because I couldn't remember what happened last time.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Maybe
each
you'll call us out.
entity will need to do its own resolution, the CDC to grant it, the IDA to accept it.
Yes. But we could do it in a meeting at any time, or reconcile at the end of the year.
Okay. Anything else come before the CDC? We're adjourned. Thank you. Have a good day. Thanks for coming.
How do we get this through the?
Thank you.
This. Oh, we can't. All right, so then we just divide this up?
I have plenty, so whoever wants that can take them.